As the world watches the unfolding dynamics of global power, a brewing conflict between the United States and South Africa has taken center stage. With Donald Trump set to be inaugurated as the President of the United States on January 20, 2025, there are growing indications that South Africa may face punitive trade measures due to its alliances with nations viewed as adversaries by the U.S. This report explores the political motivations, economic stakes, and potential consequences of this looming trade policy shift. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, enacted in 2000, serves as a cornerstone of U.S.-Africa economic relations. By providing duty-free access to the U.S. market for over 1,800 products, AGOA has stimulated economic growth and job creation in eligible African countries. South Africa, one of AGOA's largest beneficiaries, exported $3.6 billion worth of goods to the U.S. in 2023 alone. Key exports include vehicle components and citrus fruits, industries that directly support tens of thousands of South African workers. However, AGOA's benefits are not unconditional. Participating nations must adhere to criteria that align with U.S. foreign policy and national security interests. With South Africa's recent foreign policy decisions, its AGOA eligibility is now under intense scrutiny. Please, subscribe, like and share. I am here because I know you're out there. South Africa's foreign policy has increasingly diverged from U.S. expectations, particularly in its relationships with Russia, China, and Iran. This alignment has drawn criticism from key U.S. lawmakers. Republican Senators Jim Risch and Tim Scott have expressed concerns over South Africa's neutrality in the Russia-Ukraine war, its military cooperation with Russia, and its expanding trade ties with China. South Africa's contentious stance on Israel further complicates matters. Following the October 7, 2023, Hamas attacks, South Africa condemned Israel's response and filed a case with the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of genocide. This legal action has strained relations with the U.S., a staunch ally of Israel, and has intensified calls among U.S. lawmakers to reevaluate South Africa's AGOA status. South Africa's foreign policy decisions are deeply intertwined with its history and domestic politics. As a founding member of BRICS, the country has championed a non-aligned approach to global politics, prioritizing partnerships with emerging economies. This strategy reflects its desire to counterbalance Western hegemony and leverage historical ties forged during the anti-apartheid struggle. The ruling African National Congress has often framed its foreign policy as a continuation of the fight against imperialism, aligning with nations that supported South Africa during its liberation struggle. However, critics argue that this ideological stance sometimes comes at the expense of pragmatic economic and diplomatic considerations. Should South Africa lose its AGOA eligibility, the immediate impact would be felt across its export-dependent industries. Tariffs on key products like vehicle parts and citrus fruits would render them less competitive in the U.S. market, risking job losses and reduced foreign exchange earnings. Long-term implications could include diminished foreign investment as businesses reconsider South Africa's economic stability and trade prospects. Furthermore, exclusion from AGOA might push South Africa closer to its BRICS partners, deepening its reliance on alternative trade and investment streams. Such a shift could exacerbate existing tensions between South Africa and Western nations. U.S. lawmakers advocating for South Africa's exclusion from AGOA argue that the country's actions undermine American national security and foreign policy objectives. Richard Goldberg, a former member of the U.S. National Security Council, stated, "The U.S. must use its full diplomatic and economic weight to force South Africa to choose between its alliances with us or our adversaries." Conversely, South African officials and trade experts emphasize the mutual benefits of AGOA. Ambassador Ibrahim Rasool highlighted how South African exports, such as oranges and BMW vehicles, support U.S. consumers and industries. Why would the U.S. want to punish itself with higher costs? He asked, pointing to the interdependence fostered by AGOA. Domestically, critics within South Africa acknowledge governance challenges, such as corruption and mismanagement, but caution against the potential harm of losing AGOA benefits. Punishing South Africa economically for its political stance is hypocritical, argued Matthew Parks, parliamentary coordinator for COSATU. Many countries with worse governance records remain U.S. allies. The unfolding situation can be likened to a chess game, with the U.S. leveraging AGOA as a strategic piece to assert its influence. For South Africa, the challenge is akin to walking a tightrope, balancing economic interests with its foreign policy principles. Historically, similar U.S. actions have often strained relationships but rarely yielded long-term compliance. For instance, sanctions against Russia and Iran have led those nations to strengthen alternative alliances rather than capitulate to U.S. demands. The potential exclusion of South Africa from AGOA underscores the complexities of balancing economic cooperation with political sovereignty. As the U.S. prepares for a political transition under Donald Trump, the decisions made in the coming months will have far-reaching implications for U.S.-Africa relations, global trade dynamics, and South Africa's economic future. Will South Africa's non-aligned stance and commitment to BRICS partnerships lead to economic isolation, or will pragmatism prevail to preserve its AGOA benefits? Only time will tell. For now, the global community watches as this high-stakes drama unfolds. What are your thoughts on this issue? Share your views in the comments section below. Subscribe, like, share and stay tuned with Trending News Plus for more in-depth analyses on global events.